They're super light and super compact, ultra affordable, and can last 9 hours on a charge. Netbooks are everywhere. In fact, this year, netbooks are going to make up 25% of all laptops sold. But what makes the difference between a mediocre netbook and one that we recommend? We're going to give you the buying tips that you need to pick the perfect netbook for you. So before we jump into our buying tips, we want to give you a quick overview of how netbooks compare to full-size laptops. And as you can see, netbooks are anything but full-size. Their appeal is that you can take them anywhere. Netbooks weigh less than 3 pounds, compared to a full-size laptop that weighs anywhere from 5 to 6.5 pounds. Part of the reason why netbooks are so portable is because they have smaller LCDs. This has a 10-inch display versus a 15 to 16-inch display on a regular laptop. But what about on the inside? Specs for a traditional netbook include a 1.6 gigahertz Atom processor, 1 gig of RAM, and 160 gigabyte hard drive. For a full-size laptop, we're talking about a 2 gigahertz processor, usually dual core. We have 2 gigs of RAM or more, and a 250 gigabyte hard drive. So full-size laptops are great for intense multitasking, gaming, and video editing. But netbooks are ideal for anyone who is looking to get online in a pinch. Whether you're a family looking for a secondary PC for the home, a road warrior who wants to stay connected on the road, or you could be a student who wants to be able to stay connected around campus and do online research. So now that you know who netbooks are perfect for, here are the tips that you need to get the perfect system. Because netbooks are designed to be taken anywhere, ergonomic comfort is king, and that starts with a great keyboard. For us, a good netbook keyboard starts with the size. Look for a netbook that has a 90% size keyboard or larger, and you'll be able to find that information in the specs or in our online reviews at laptopmag.com. The other thing you want to pay close attention to is the size and the positioning of keys that touch typists use most often. That includes the Enter key and the Shift key, and we've seen plenty of manufacturers get this wrong. Last but not least is the style of layout that you're looking for. Some netbook keyboards have this kind of layout where the keys are closer together, whereas other netbooks have isolated layouts, which means that the keys have more spacing between them and they're raised from the deck. We think both styles are great, but it really comes down to personal preference. The second buying tip that we have for netbooks has to do with the touchpad and the touchpad buttons. When you're shopping for a netbook, make sure that the touchpad is nice and large. The last thing that you want is something that's claustrophobic. This particular touchpad is 3 inches, which is ideal. Also make sure that the surface is nice and smooth. You don't want unnecessary friction when you're just trying to launch a program. When it comes to the touchpad buttons, we have a couple of preferences. One is that they don't flank the touchpad. We really prefer that they're underneath, just like a regular laptop. We also like that the touchpad buttons be separate buttons, left and right, as opposed to a single bar, which can be really cramped. Third buying tip for netbooks has to do with the size and the resolution of the display, and there are 3 main options right now. There's a 9-inch, 10-inch, and a 12-inch. On the 9-inch side, we really don't recommend these types of netbooks because the screen is too small and the resolution is too cramped. Also keep in mind that the keyboards are smaller in this size, so it's not really worth the price savings. By jumping up an extra $50 or so to a 10-inch netbook like this one, there's a reason why this is the sweet spot of the market. You get a 1024 by 600 resolution display, which is great for viewing web pages without scrolling side by side, and you also get a fuller size keyboard and touchpad. In this size range, you also have the option of upgrading to high definition in some cases, but we think it's overkill. We wouldn't recommend it because 1366 by 768 makes icons and fonts way too small. Where high definition does make sense is in the emerging 12-inch category. There's only a few right now, but we like them because you get a fuller size keyboard and a bigger display, which means you have more room for things like viewing web pages and documents. Just keep in mind that you are going to pay a little bit more for this extra real estate and that the specs are generally the same between the 10 and the 12-inch netbook categories. One of the things we love about netbooks is that they can last all day on a charge, but not all netbooks are created equal. And that brings us to our fourth buying tip, and that's the size and the capacity of the battery. And right now there are 2 main types. One is 3 cells and the other is 6 cells. The average 3-cell battery netbook lasts about 3 hours on a charge. A 6-cell battery netbook lasts an average of 6 hours and as much as 8 or 9 hours with some of the latest models that we've been testing. You are going to pay a little bit more for a 6-cell battery, about $50 or so, and it does add a little bit of weight, but for us, the premium is a no-brainer. Our last netbook buying tip has to do with value and what you should expect for your money. Most netbooks do come with similar specs, but there are some features that sweeten the deal. And that starts with extra USB ports. A lot of systems do come with 2. We say go with 3 if you can, because it's always better to have extra room for peripherals. Another good feature to have is a built-in webcam, and that's above the display. You want to leverage that anytime, anywhere connectivity to stay in touch with family and friends. And speaking of connectivity, get Wi-Fi and Bluetooth if possible, because you want to have Bluetooth to use a wireless headset. If you add up all the tips that we're giving you for buying the perfect netbook, you're looking at spending anywhere between $329 for a 10-inch model up to $499 for a 12-inch one. And all of the models that we featured today are available right now through newegg.com. But also make sure you go to laptopmag.com to check out reviews of these netbooks and more.